The time winds down. They did it. It's over. The game is over. The series is over. The wait is over.
Yeah, drinking dope, turn me to a superhero. Yeah, hit that pill, turn me to a superhero.
All right, you guys, welcome back. This is episode 8. So today, me and KP, we're going to be going over a brief, quick overview of Week 18, what our thoughts are, what we need to know, what we were shocked by, and we're also going to be giving you guys our AFC and NFC wildcard predictions. It's been a very interesting final week of football, and me and KP these past couple days have been overviewing everything, talking about everything, and I think we've come up with some pretty good decisions here to talk about. So to get started, KP, I think you got our final prediction so far for the seasons combined against each other. What do you got there?
Like the records?
Yep.
Okay, so last week I was 11-5. Kellen was 12-4. He beat me on the Week 18, the season finale, but I'm beating him by one game right now. With it being, I'm winning 29-6. I have a 29-16 record, and he has a 28-17 record going into the playoffs. But we're gonna do the wild card weekend, then divisional, and then so on and so forth. And whoever wins is just the crown predictor of the podcast is what we're going to do. But I got him by one game, but then we're still going to be doing playoffs. But that's all I got for that part. If you want to start off and bring up the games you wanted to talk about for the overview for Week 18.
All right, so we talked, and, there were some games we both had opinions on. But I think there was two games, to me, that I think are important to discuss considering playoff-wise. There was other games too, but those games were more of like drafting-wise, but I'm sticking to the now. So the first game I wanted to briefly touch up on, the Cowboys game. That game, atrocious. I don't even know what to say. Really, it's just, as a team that, they're pretty hot consistently throughout the year. They've had a few ups and downs, but usually when you're a team like the Cowboys and you're pretty hot, you want to stay that way. You don't want to hit that bump in the road that's going to cause you to have these problems in the playoffs, which is why they've lost over and over. They just find those roadblocks. And, after yesterday's game, I truly am embarrassed to say that this is the end for the Cowboys, in my opinion. It's just Dak Prescott goes out and he loses to Sam Howell, who is a fourth-round pick in the NFL draft out of North Carolina, I believe, and he comes out and he just dominates Dak and the Cowboys, who started most of their starters, if not all of them. They dominate the Cowboys 26-6. Dak, awful, 14 for 37, 128 yards, only one touchdown, a pick six, and an interception. Not to mention Tony Pollard, who I honestly think is a top 5 running back this year. 7 carries for 19 yards. When you've got a guy like Tony, he wasn't Tony the Tiger, if you get what I mean there. He could not do anything yesterday. He didn't have the fierce look I would see every day. Zeke, he couldn't do anything, and I'm just questioning, what is this Cowboys team doing? And it doesn't help the fact that Micah Parsons couldn't stop the Commanders. He was getting double-teamed, and it just wonders is this Cowboys team really think they're going to go down to Tampa Bay, who I will agree has had a rough year, but do they really think they're going to go down to a Tampa Bay team that rested up their guys in the final week and beat Tom Brady, the man you never want to bet against in the playoffs? I just don't see it happening, and it just really makes me nervous as an NFL fan as well to see a team like this end like they did and then expect to go down and win. Yeah, I don't know, man, but KP, you got anything to talk about there?
Well, that was Sam Howell's rookie debut, and he beats a 12-4 Cowboy team. I'm looking at the stats on my phone here. I've never heard of Malik Davis. I guess he's a third-string running back.
I didn't even mention his name.
Him and Tony Pollard had the most rushing yards that game with 19, and then Dak had 16. Cooper Rush, I guess, got to the end of the game because he was 0 for 1 with completions.
Yeah,
but he almost had a better QBR than Dak Prescott with only passing one pass.
Yeah,
and it didn't even complete. I don't know. I'm still not sold on CeeDee Lamb being he's a decent receiver, but he's not a true one. I don't think, and I think everyone thinks he's a true one over there. And I mean, he had a touchdown and 50 yards, but I mean, he's got even Dalton Schultz, he's supposed to be their guy over there too. He only had 33 yards, 4 catches. He had 9 targets. I think that's one of Dak's favorite things. But I mean, I don't know. I don't like the Cowboys, so like I'm all for it. And I kind of
I've never been sold on Dak either. I think that's a little bit of the problem offensive wise. I've never been sold on Dak, really.
He's hot and cold. Like
I've just never been sold on the guy ever since he got drafted to replace Tony Romo.
I mean, he was hot when he replaced Tony Romo. That's why they kept him, and that's why Tony Romo left and retired. But I don't know. I don't think they'll beat the Bucs at all. So I mean, I'm fine with that.
I don't think either. But the next game I wanted to touch up on, quite honestly, I think an interesting one. Jaguars. They go. They win the AFC South this year, and they defeat the Titans. What was the final score of that game? I want to say 19-16.
2016 Jags.
2016 Jags. All right. Yeah, that final that touchdown was a miracle for Jacksonville. Josh Allen, not the quarterback, folks. I'm talking about the edge rusher for the Jags. A fumble pickup to the house for a touchdown. That wins the game. But the only thing I had concern-wise was how slow the offense was for Jacksonville, considering how rough that Tennessee Titans secondary was. I mean, they did not have any starters in the game whatsoever besides one of their star safeties, Kevin Byard. But besides that, it's just I'm kind of sold on the Jags having a shot at this playoff spot. I think they'll cause them havoc in the playoffs. But, after that Titans game, considering how hot Lawrence has been this year, pretty good solid year, I would say, for him. It kind of worried me that he couldn't, exceed to the level I was hoping at. He was going to meet against this Titans team. It really worried me. But I think with gathering some film, I think Jacksonville will clean it up. Now, obviously, they're going to be facing a very fast-scoring and tough Chargers team in the wild card, but they do have the home field advantage. So I think with Jacksonville, if they can clean up those offensive mistakes and, somehow limit Herbert in that hot offense, I think they can have a good shot in the playoffs. But, the only thing I was worried about was that offense of Jacksonville. It just didn't connect. They weren't getting really anything going. Lawrence was missing touchdowns left and right. I believe he had an interception and 1 touchdown. I cannot remember if it was 1 interception, but I know he had a touchdown pass, but I believe that was it. But that's all I had really for the Jags game. It was just one of those games where, you got to win to advance. You got to do what you got to do to win. But, you got anything to touch up on there, KP?
They also, like the Cowboys, they didn't have a run game. Travis Etienne had 7 carries for 17 yards. But I mean, Lawrence didn't play bad. He went 20 for 32, and in my opinion, 212 yards and a touchdown. That's what Mahomes basically did in the Raiders game. So I mean, he did what he needed to do to get his team to win. Yes, it wasn't the greatest, but I mean, against a division team fight, they're trying to knock you out against Derrick Henry and stuff. I think that was decent. I think they'll beat the Chargers since the Chargers are so banged up. But I want to put this out there. I'm on the phone with Kellen yesterday, and he calls me about Trevor Lawrence. We're about to record, and he's like, I see Peyton Manning out of this kid. I see Peyton Manning as Trevor Lawrence being a Peyton Manning. When we're going back.
Oh, my 2.0 statement?
We're going back and forth, and then he just says how he wasn't happy with how Trevor Lawrence, his new boy now, was playing. So if that's your Peyton Manning 2.0, by all means, he can barely slide against the Titans, and yeah, he can be your next 2.0. But I don't know. I still think he's got a long way to show that he's going to be a top quarterback in the league already. But I mean, good for him that the Jags won their division. They're going to be in the playoffs, so you see a new team in there.
That is true. Yesterday, KP, you told me when we were, we're planning for this episode, there was these 2 other games. One of them was very beneficial for your Seahawks. Congrats to the KP Seahawks. They made the playoffs, folks. How about that? And I wasn't expecting that much out of them, but congrats. They did what they needed to do. Stuff fell their way, and there was a few games I think you wanted to touch up on. So you got anything to get stuff?
Well, I guess the Seahawks game I did kind of want to do. They should have killed the Rams. How injured and everything they are, but they cannot stop the run, and that's kind of a big reason how they even let the Rams stay in there. And then Geno forces too many balls. If they want to make it far and have a chance to beat the Niners, they have to not turn the ball over. That's just kind of how playoff football works. If you turn the ball over more than the other team, it's more than likely you're going home and your season's over. But, I mean, they did what they needed to do in overtime. They got the game winner. That was fine. But the game I was looking forward to, because if the Seahawks win, we need the Lions to win. So I was a big Lions fan last night. And Lions did exactly what I needed them to do, being the Packers 2016. And that made me, I mean, they didn't really do anything crazy. Jared Goff went 23 for 34, 224 yards, and he didn't turn over the ball. It's like that. You don't turn over the ball, you have a good chance to make yourself win. They beat the Packers. I can't stand the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, so that made my heart happy. Jamal Williams breaks Barry Sanders' franchise record for most rushing touchdowns in a single season. That was sick to see. I really like Jamal. Helped us clinch. I don't know. I really like the Lions. Not just because they got my Seahawks in there, but I think that they're just going to be a really good team going into next year. That's going to be a better division. Them and the Vikings are going to help run it.
I love that offense of theirs, and I really do. I just, they do have Goff at quarterback, but, I would say he was pretty consistent this year, and I think that's what, led them to being pretty hot. I just love the playmakers they got, man. They're all about speed. They got your boy Jameson Williams. He's back from his ACL tear that he had in the national championship a year ago. He had a pretty good few games this year. And Amon St. Brown, they got Jamal Williams.
They have a good receiver core.
They have
for
sure.
Goff. I don't really like Goff, I guess, but he's been to the Super Bowl, so he knows what it is to get there, obviously, and has the playoff experience that you want as quarterback. But I really like Dan Campbell, and he comes in and sets that whole tone for them, because they could have Dan Campbell could have been like, all right, we're going to bench all of our starters and all of our stars simply because this game doesn't mean anything for us. But
for sure.
But a division rival they're playing, and I know he told them in the locker room, he was like, listen, Seahawks won. No, he said that earlier in the week. He's like, well, we know for a chance that Seattle will take care of business over there. And when Seattle takes care of business, the same thing is for us. We're going to win the day. We're going to ruin their party. We're going to ruin their chances to go there. If we can't make it, y'all ain't making it. That's what he said.
Exactly. I love that statement. Love that mentality going for us.
And, a division rival game, they did exactly that. They sent them home packing. And
at Lambeau.
And I think the Packers have beat them out of the last 20 times. I think they've beaten them 17 in their last appearances. So I think the Lions are turning everything around. But that's kind of what I want to touch up on that. And then we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is retiring or what, but it's this same old crybaby that.
And all Aaron Rodgers drama that he's got to drag out every year.
Yeah, because he's going to be like, well, I might retire, I might not, because he can't be held accountable for anything. But then every Packer's going to be like, no, Aaron, come back, please come back, we need you. But that just kind of annoys me because he doesn't take accountability at all. But that was kind of the main thing I want to cover up. The last game I wanted to do, which I thought was the most interesting game of the week, not at first, but then as I was keeping track of the score, Texans-Colts. Texans win 32-31. Texans lose that game. They have the first overall pick. Will probably pick Bryce Young, and they need a quarterback pretty bad. So I think that would be a pretty big pickup for them. But obviously, I guess the Texans thought otherwise, and we're going to win this game, I guess. So they win that game. And then are they thinking about maybe, trading this pick, or I don't know what, trying to trade up now? But Lovie Smith got kicked to the curb because he got in trouble, I guess, for winning, because they wanted him to lose so they can get this phenom quarterback coming out of Alabama. But I have seen a lot of stuff saying that the Bears need to try to trade, because now the Bears have that first overall pick now since all that happened. And I've heard that everyone's been saying, we'll trade Justin Fields, get Bryce Young, he's a better passer, get picks for Fields. I could totally see that happening. I don't know if it's going to probably happen or probably not, but I know it's a big debate in the NFL world right now that I definitely wanted to bring up. But
there was a little speculation, though, if you don't mind if I jump in. Will Anderson, Alabama's edge rusher, it's been in the air. It can't be confirmed because, it's pre-draft, they're rumors. But, I agree with that Bryce Young thing for sure. But I've also heard that Will Anderson, Alabama's edge rusher, like I said, is on the Bears' mind, and they would use that first pick. But it's just I don't know what to believe. It's so early to be saying stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just for the Bears. I mean, God help them. It's just so hard to put a nail on them, really. It's hard to pin it, like to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to support Fields?
I mean, they don't.
Or are you going to
I don't really think.
rebuild?
I really don't think they have an idea what they want. But I definitely
They
know.
don't.
I definitely know. Like as the football season ends down and all of that, I want to do like a mock draft video. I know I want to do that, but I know like if you're the Bears, I think you have your franchise quarterback in Fields, but he has no help around. And I think but there's no receivers or tight ends. I mean, I like Cole Kmet as their tight end, but there's really no big offensive weapon besides quarterbacks in this draft that I think are top 10.
No, not really. I mean, quarterback-wise, are you talking?
No, I'm talking non-quarterback because they don't need a quarterback.
There's, the SEC, obviously. There's Darnell Washington, who I'm not completely sold on as a receiving.
You're not picking him one overall.
But you're not picking him. That's what I'm saying.
There's no receiver that I would pick number one.
No, it's just really
the best receiver that is coming into this draft is probably Quentin Johnson from TCU or Jackson Smith and Njigba, and I don't think the earliest they might go is 12, 15.
Yeah, I'd say late first round, early second. I don't know. I don't think early second.
They'll go mid to late first
round.
That's the latest that those two I think go, or probably first round. But that was just kind of like how I was thinking. Bears need to build something around Justin Fields. Maybe not. They need to trade that pick away for something that's for a team that
valuable.
A team that needs a quarterback. So look at your Texans your Colts and other people like that need a quarterback and try to see what you can get, packages or more picks from it. But that was kind of my overview of Week 18 that I had for everything.
That's what I had. But let's get this playoff road on the show. How about we do that, KP? So I would say this year, obviously, there's a few surprisers, a little bit of shockers, but then there's, the obvious teams that you should expect to see. But for today, you guys, we are going week by week. So obviously, we're just doing wild cards this week. We're covering the wild cards. We don't need to get into all the way to the Super Bowl. We need to stick to the now. We need you guys to know what we're saying. So for today, I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to let Cannon kick us off with his wild card predictions. So, KP, let's hear those wild card predictions, shall we?
All right, mine's going to be pretty easy and pretty quick. I think every game this week is pretty easy to go by except for one. I think the Buccaneers are going to take business of the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys have the better record this year. Tom Brady has never lost against the Cowboys in his career.
That's crazy.
I think it's going to stay like that. And then also, Cowboys just had a bad loss unless they turn that around and make it momentum. I don't really see Dak or Zeke or anything. Unless that defense turns it around, I don't see them doing a whole lot. So I got the Bucs there. Ravens-Bengals, I don't really know the speculation going on with Lamar right now. So I'm going to pick the Bengals because they're one of the hottest teams right now. Probably one of the best. I think probably the best team in the AFC right now. Just because of how they're playing hot and everything. So that's an easy pick for me. I'm going to skip that one and go back to it. Bills-Dolphins, Skylar Thompson against Josh Allen. I think that one's pretty easy. They got a lot of momentum. They also got a lot to play for, chip on their shoulder for DeMar. I got the Bills. Chargers are too banged up in my opinion. Way too banged up. So I got the Jags winning that one on the road. Is that on the road or is that at home?
For
Jags Chargers.
Jags Chargers is at Jacksonville. So
they won the division. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, correct. It's kind of an odd thing.
So that kind of backs it up even better for me because I think the Jags are going to win because the Chargers don't really have. They have a lot of injuries. I think Mike Williams is getting the go, but they have an electric offense. But their defense is too injury and everything like that. The next game I got Seahawks versus Niners. I want to say Seahawks because their offense is good and everything, and that's my team.
Yeah.
But unless they held, like I was talking to you earlier, unless they make Brock Purdy an actual player instead of a guy who's just watching the game and only throwing the ball 20 times and giving it to McCaffrey or Jeff Wilson Jr. And both of those guys have a combined of, 40, 45 touches. Because Seahawks have the worst run defense in the whole entire league, I think, besides, I don't even know who it was, some shitter. So they have 31st team in run defense. So the game plan will be to run the ball down the Seahawks' throat. And if the Seahawks can't stop that, it's going to get pretty ugly there in San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
So I got San Francisco pulling out there, 1-2 already this year, both at Seattle and in San Fran. So I think they'll take care of business, which is sad. But Seattle had a good year. They weren't expected to get there, so I can give them that. And then lastly, a game that kind of could go either way for me. I think the Giants are really good, and I think the Vikings are very streaky. Their points per game with offense and defense together just concerns me. But I'm going with star power here, and I'm going to pick the Vikings here. Vikings at home. I'm going to pick the firepower. I'm going to pick Justin Jefferson. I'm going to pick Kirk Cousins on Dalvin Cook. I think that it seems like a no-brainer, but I know that they can struggle sometimes. But I think I'm going to pick the Vikings. So I got the Niners at home, then I got the Jags, then I got the Bills, Vikings, Bengals, and Bucks for my playoff wildcard weekend predictions for what I got.
All right. Just going to take that in. All right. So, I got some things that I completely agree with. Some of them you can't disagree whatsoever. But there's some that I'm iffy-washy on that I may have a different perspective on. So I'm going to start off with no day or time order. I'm just going game-wise. So the first game that I'm going to start off with is the Jags-Chargers. I have been off and on about this. It's such a difficult thing to process because, the Jags got hot. They slipped in. But then also the Chargers started steaming up, along with having to deal with injuries all year long. Probably one of the most injured teams all year long, in my opinion, that has affected them tremendously. But when I look at it, I see Herbert and I see Hurts. I see two kind of similar quarterbacks. I think Herbert's got more of the poxy. He's more of a flashy quarterback. He can do more stuff outside of the pocket. He's more of a game manager guy. Trevor Lawrence is more of a guy that, I think he just gets the job done. I think Herbert tries to go above and beyond. And, my point is with that is because when he matches up against my boy Mahomes, he's always putting up some, great numbers, or he's going up against Josh Allen and all them. He's putting up great numbers. And, and then this is his first playoff appearance. Same with Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like, how is this going to work? Both having their first playoff appearance. But for the benefit for Trevor is he's at home. Mike Williams, again, I still have not heard if he's back yet.
I think he's playing, from what I've heard.
Okay.
I
would assume he's
I've heard from a couple of my buddies that he's getting the nod.
He's getting the nod? Okay. Because I was going to say Bosa's back, which is a huge beneficial add for that defense to be back. But for this game, I'm sticking with the home field advantage threat. I got the Jags. I'd love to see an underdog here make it past the wild card. I'm going to believe in Trevor Lawrence there. But the next game I got is the Bucs Cowboys. Really, for me, this is a no doubter because I never ever will doubt the GOAT again. I did in the 2018 AFC Championship, and it sent me into some hard times. So I got to pull away the Bucs because the way the Cowboys played their last game, the team chemistry and the way they act together, it just doesn't settle well with me. And, with Tom Brady, never, like I said, bet against him in the playoffs, especially with that home field advantage. So I got to go with the Bucs and Brady because it's Tom Brady. You never know what he's going to do. But the next game is the Bengals-Ravens. Like KP said and touched up on, the status of Lamar is, I believe, still unknown. If he could get to practice, I would say by Thursday or maybe tomorrow, Wednesday, and he's able to, work with trainers, see how he's feeling, I think they'd get him to go. But it's just the Bengals, they're hot at the right time. They've been hot all year. They're they're moving into the playoffs hot at the right time. The only thing that worries me is they're missing 2 defensive starters that were hurt in the previous game against the Ravens. But I don't think that'll be a huge non-beneficial factor. But for this game, I got to stick with the Bengals. I got to stick with the hot hand of Joe Burrow in that offense. So I think it'll be a decently close game, but I think the Bengals will pull away with this one. So the next game is the Vikings-Giants. I actually may be attending this game this weekend, so it'll be interesting to see. So with my gut feeling here is I'm going to go with the Giants. And the reason I'm going to go with the Giants is, I trust in their run game. They've established it well. Saquon has stayed healthy all year. He's putting up great numbers. He's been consistent to me. They figured out defensively what they need to do to stop some teams, as I've seen all year. They've managed to do that pretty consistently. And then with the Vikings, they've had a great year. And Justin Jefferson has had an astronomical year. But I'm not sold with Kirk Cousins. I just really am not. And I'm not sold with that Vikings defense whatsoever. Yes, they can make stops, but the points they give up is absurd. So even though the Vikings have home field advantage, I'm going to go with the Giants winning in Minnesota against the Vikings this weekend. So I think that'll be actually kind of a close game, but I think the Giants will pull away with that one. But the next game I'm going to move on to is the Bills-Dolphins. The status of Tua, nothing. Haven't heard from their backup, Teddy Bridgewater, the status of him either. And for God's sake, you cannot play Skylar Thompson, former Kansas State quarterback, in the playoffs. It's just a joke. You just can't do that. Especially when you're playing a team, Buffalo Bills.
What if he just pulls an absolute Minshew mania moment and they beat the Bills?
You know what, KP? If they do that, I will make an entire episode dedicated to just Skylar Thompson. I will. And you know what, you guys, if that happens, keep that in mind. We will do that. It will be dedicated. He goes up and beats Bills Mafia. That guy's getting all the praise and glory from every single media podcast out there. But this game is obvious. It really is. At home, Buffalo. And they have a purpose to play for, especially with that Damar Hamlin incident. He's out of the hospital, which is a great thing, but the Bills have a purpose to play for, to fight for. And I think that's going to be something that's going to really push them to the playoffs here. But I got the Bills winning, moving on to the divisional. Final game. This one's really going to hurt KP, guys. But his Seahawks, they are playing at home. At San Francisco.
Away.
Let's say it. 49ers at home against Seahawks. This game, it's hard to tell KP his team's going to lose. It really is, considering the joy he's expressed because his team made it. But when I look at their defense, I just can't help. But it's like you said earlier, the run. It's just, if you can't stop the run, especially Christian McCaffrey, and maybe even Debo. He's more. I don't even know what to call him. He's a mix of athlete. You're screwed. You just are, because they're going to hold on to the ball. They're going to run it down your throat. They're going to do what they need to do to win. But there's a little, I wouldn't say glimpse of brightness, but a glimpse of a tiny bit of hope. Brock Purdy is a rookie, okay? And I get the coaching staff in San Francisco has done a fantastic job of, bringing Brock Purdy into the system and getting the job done. But when I look at team-wises and who's a bigger threat, I got to go with the 49ers in this one. They've just got more threats. They've got the better offense, in my opinion. They got more skilled players. They got more threats. So I've got to pull away with the 49ers with this one, advancing to the divisional round. But for me, that is it for our AFC and NFC wildcard predictions. Now, for this, you guys, we're going to make this interesting. Please comment down below your guys' predictions. Also, let us know what you think of our predictions, because, again, like we've said in the past, please feel free to, predict, to contrast, to compare, criticize. It's open in the comments. So go ahead and drop a comment down below of your predictions for the playoffs. Hell, if you guys want to, we won't judge you or anything. You can go all the way to the Super Bowl, but me and KP, we're trying to stay consistent here. We're sticking with the wild cards. But for this episode, I think that's basically all we've touched up on. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to predict, because predictions don't come easy, especially for me, considering how close this is. with Cannon. But that's all I've got to say. KP, you got anything else to touch on for episode 8?
So as you can tell, we added some new little things in our thing. So we're not things in our thing. Things like it, we kind of separated. So like Kellen's going to be doing his own KT discusses, and I'm going to be doing my own KP discusses. So sometimes we might do a solo dolo if like we have busy schedules of being in school and everything like that. He might bring a guest over without me, or I might bring a guest on and talk about football. Said football like 3 times. What the hell? Football, basketball, baseball, whatever is kind of hot in the moment is kind of what we're doing. But football's been so hot, so we've kind of been like throwing that all at you guys because it's playoffs and then everything's hot and we like football so much, so we know so much about football, so we're throwing it at that. But that's just some stuff to look forward to. We've been posting shorts too to let you guys know like that you guys can watch some of our debates, talks, our predictions if you guys don't have enough time to watch the 15 or 30 minute videos that we post. But we are also still posting on our TikTok and Instagram, but our TikTok is We Out Here Sports Podcast that we'll be putting up here, and then Instagram is We Out Here 314 Pod. But that's episode 8. So I mean, we love doing it. We love making content for you guys. So hit that like button and that comment, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out, baby.
Peace out.
Really didn't. My soul cold. Double backwards.